Hello, welcome back. So we're going to start off with a 20-ounce straight from Hog. I would definitely suggest starting off with a straight because you're going to be wrapping this double-sided tape all the way around, and you're going to definitely want a straight, you know, continuation all the way around the cup. So I started off with this inch size tape, double-sided tape, and I did it as perfectly straight as I could on the very top, because like I always say, if you get that very first, you know, line correct, then the rest of the lines are going to work perfectly fine. So I had measured these ribbons that I got at Walmart. I just dug through a couple of little bins there at the little Christmas section and got some of these like paper, real paper thin ribbons that, you know, the ones that you can kind of curl up with the scissors. And I didn't want to use the fabric ones because I wanted to use something that was really thin and wouldn't cause too much bulk around the cup. And these come in all kinds of fun, different designs, and they're extremely easy to work with and super cheap. So I could make probably like 50 cups with all of this whole roll thing that I got. I really just wasn't sure how they would kind of look together, so I just kind of grabbed a bunch of them, and they were like a couple bucks, you know, and definitely you can keep them, you know, for years to come. Wrap up your presents, you know, birthday presents with some green, whatever, you know, you can work it through. Sorry, I am sick again, and so I just keep having to kind of cough and catch my breath. Anyways, one of these days I'm going to get better. So I measured these ribbons like about 3 or 4 days before I actually did this. Now, so I kind of screwed up in the very beginning, but I caught it. I figured out what I was doing. But I did the 1 inch, and then I did like maybe a 1/2 inch, and then like a 1/4 inch, because the size of the ribbon, the size of the two smaller ribbons, the ones that, you know, you would normally kind of wrap up and like curl up, that type of ribbon, and then the bigger, the one where I used the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch, that was when I was using the bigger size ribbons that were on the other roll, but I had forgotten that I had measured that out. The reason I'm telling you this story while I'm doing this is because whatever ribbon you choose, make sure you measure out whatever it is, whatever style, you know, whatever the length or, you know, width is of each size of the ribbons, and then you can kind of decide on which double-sided tape, you know, if you want to double up something or use only one size or whatever. So, I mean, I could go on and on about what sizes I used, but it honestly depends on probably their standard sizes, but it would probably depend on what size ribbon you get or you decide to have, or if you have something at your house and you decide to use that. So just measure those ribbons beforehand before you decide on which, you know, particular width you're going to be going with on each one of the double-sided tapes. One of the downfalls was that they had taped these up, and the tape had kind of like made some of the print come off, and so I had to open up a bunch of them and like pull them out and then cut them like, you know, a few, like 5 or 6 inches, half a foot away from, you know, the beginning, because the tape had kind of ripped off the print further down the thing. So anyways, it was just one of those things that was like, man, why do they do this? But anyways, so I started off with unraveling the 1 inch size. Now, and this might even be 3/4 inch size, I don't know, but I just took the rolls that I had and kind of put them up against the different sizes and was like, okay, this size will work for these two. And so that's what I started off with. I took the first, you know, thin ribbon and then another thin ribbon, and it worked. If they fit perfectly right in between, you know, right in that size of double-sided tape. So that was kind of where I was going with that advice, was that you're just going to kind of have to see what ribbon sizes you have. If you are going to use fabric, you're more than welcome to use fabric. I just wanted to use something that was a lot simpler, cheaper. I could just, you know, this is something that's just a quick and easy, cute little design that you can come up with. So this one here was where I kind of made that first mistake. I forgot that this was one of the thinner ribbons on that roll there, that some of the other ones were thicker, and so they would fit into that 1/2 inch and that little tiny 1/4 inch. It would have fit both. I mean, those two would have been the size of the wider ribbon, but I used a thinner ribbon on there, and so I was really confused. I confused myself because I had done this like a few days before, and I had forgotten that that's what the one I chose was the larger one. So I go back and I fix it. But right now I'm just gonna show you a few little rounds of the ribbon, just to kind of make sure you understand that it's extremely easy, and you can have as much fun as you want. You could put them in like gradient color, like a gradient going down, or you could just randomly pick them like I chose. And this is where I was like, okay, I know what I did here. I know why I didn't do that the first time, was because you're supposed to take this thicker one and use both sides of this double-sided tape, and then the thicker one will fit in there. So there you go. There's my little situation there, and it worked out perfect. And I went back and fixed the top one, no big deal. But that was what I had intended in the beginning, was that I was going to use the smaller ones to kind of give depth and dimension, and then use the bigger ones. So anyways, so just make sure you are measuring this out before you start the whole project. So I sped this up tremendously because it didn't really take me that long to do this, but I just didn't want to make y'all sit through me wrapping all of these ribbons. So I just kind of scattered them through here just to kind of show you the different ribbons that I put on there. I just kind of wanted it to make it look like if you were wrapping presents and you just got a bunch of ribbons and made you a cup at the same time, kind of thing. That's kind of what I wanted. I just wanted that feel for, you know, just a hodgepodge Christmas. I just didn't want it to be, you know, uniformed and perfect. And although I was trying to be very perfect on the lines, because I knew the ribbons would look crazy if they were all cattywampus or whatever. But other than that, I was pretty free with my different styles and different looks of the ribbons, which was a lot of fun to do. So I went back with just a thinner size there in one of the patterns that I had not put on the cup, and I went ahead and did that, and I did it kind of a little bit more over on the bigger side, so it looked somewhat like the smaller version of the ribbon. So it just blended well. No harm, no foul. But like I said, just make sure you measure everything before you start this. I know a lot of people don't like Mod Podge. I use it all the time. Doesn't bother me at all. But I believe you can use Crystalac glitter glue to seal this in as well. But I just put 2 coats of Mod Podge. I mean, I did very nice, very generous coats of Mod Podge, and I let it dry. I think I let it dry like a day, and then I came back because I just didn't have time to do it at the time. But I made sure that I take the Mod Podge off the rim there. I don't want any of that to. I want the epoxy to be able to adhere to that top part that we left open on purpose. So just make sure you are wiping that clean. And then I just put a strip on the back side. I just put one of the same size strips on the back, and then I just stuck a pretty red ribbon on the back just to kind of cover up all of those little pieces that, you know, were left over when we were cutting it, and it worked out fine. So after this, I put another coat of Mod Podge when it was fully dry, and then we're going to go into our epoxy. But first, we're going to do our little bow. Now, if you saw my live the other night, I talked about these bows. They are available on the Glitter Ranch, and they are adorable. They're little straw toppers, and I thought, you can't get more perfect than a little straw topper with a bow on your ribbon cup. So, had to do it. I used Griswold from the Glitter Ranch. It's a brand new Christmas. That's it right there. It is so, so cute, and it has all the colors from all the ribbons. And I just mixed up. I was going to make like some barrettes and earrings and things like that for the ladies at school, at my son's school. So I mixed up a little bit more than you probably would need here. I would probably just say mix up, 5 and then just like put it in a mold for something else, because you're not going to need the whole 5. But it's just really hard to mix up a lot of epoxy. I mean, it's hard to mix up a tiny bit of epoxy. So as you can see there, I sanded a little bit of the top of the acrylic blank when I took off that top layer. I left the back layer on so we could make sure we didn't get epoxy on the back side. And then I just sanded it a little bit, and then I mixed up the epoxy. I put in a dash or 2 or 3, I don't know, of the Griswold. And I just now this is sped up a little bit, but I did very carefully, very slowly make it to each little edge of the bow so that we could get our entire look for the bow, and it would have all those pretty colors from Griswold and all those Christmas colors that are from each one of those ribbons that are on the cup. So after I was done with this, after I put everything, I got the, epoxy from edge to edge. I just left it sitting taped to that top of that little cup there, and I let it cure for about a day, and it was good to go. So then we go into our epoxy. And so this has 2 good coats of Mod Podge, like I said, and I was fascinated by the fact that when the epoxy went on there, it looked so smooth and perfect, and I was just like, wow. I tell you what, Mod Podge, I know people don't like it, but when something is sealed, and when it's sealed and then epoxy goes over it, oh, it's so smooth. There's no air bubbles. It was just like glass. It didn't even look like it had anything on there, to be honest with you. It still doesn't, even looking at it as it's finished. I'm like, what is on here? It's just, that's Artistry Epoxy. Link down below. It is amazing. I love it. Anyways, I just wanted to take a moment and watch the epoxy go on here, because it was just so cool. It looks so pretty. It looks, I don't know. Anyways, I'll stop talking. But Artistry Epoxy, link down below. And let's go on to our next step. So after that coat, I went right into a second coat. I always do 2 coats just so that we can be able to sand or do whatever we need to do and make sure that we have a good seal on whatever it is we're working on. So, word of advice, word to the wise. This holographic vinyl, love it. It looks very cool. It's very awesome. Have no problems with it. But I am not having a very good relationship with my Cricut right now, and I don't want to talk about it. I'd rather just sit and eat ice cream right now with this. I just don't want to talk about it. Anyways, it did not cut, obviously, because I didn't put it on, like, birch wood. I don't even know. Like, I don't know what else I have to put it on. But anyways, it didn't cut, so I ended up having to cut it. I wanted to use printable vinyl. Basic, plain, white printable vinyl. I think with the holiday and I am just running ragged all over the place, and I've been sick. Like, I think this is my 3rd time. I don't even know. So I lost my paper vinyl. I know it's there somewhere because I just bought some, and I know I didn't use it all, but it's there underneath something. But anyway, so I had to end up cutting this, and I ended up having to cut the little space out, which I should not have done. I should have just left it, but the line was there, so I thought I needed to. Anyways, this ink on here, it is, yeah, it just doesn't, you just needed to let it dry a lot longer than I let it dry, which was no time at all. And so a lot of the black ink kind of like smeared, but which was very cool, which I did not realize. I was like, well, I'm just going to try to clean this off and see what happens. If not, I'll just rip it off and put something new, you know, print it again or do whatever, or find some vinyl somewhere. But I just cleaned it a little bit, and it was fine. All the black ink that was smudged on there just wiped right off. I was very surprised. Anyways, enough with my sob story, but I will tell you one more. Make sure you seal this. Seal it with some Mod Podge, because I got all kinds of crazy bubbles coming up beside the little words and everything. Anyways, it turned out so adorable. It was so adorable, and I am so excited about it. This absolutely can be made, and it can absolutely be perfect. The only problem I had here was the printable vinyl was my own fault and not sealing it. But the little bow looks adorable, and the ribbons look adorable under there. Oh my gosh, it's all so adorable. And the gangster wrapper, that is available at Duncan Custom Airbrush. I will have that link down below. He designed that himself. If you remake this, please tag me. Please join my group. Comment down below, like, subscribe, all of that. And I will see you next time. Merry Christmas.